Now, my dear friends, SARS just dropped a massive bombshell on social media influencers or content creators, which is something that I believe that if you are a social media influencer or a content creator, you need to be aware of the recent updates that SARS just made. Apparently, they want everyone who is either a social media influencer or a content creator, whatever income you receive from your gigs that you're doing, from the content that you're creating. In other words, even here on YouTube, when you are monetized, whatever money that YouTube pays you, you must take part of the profits or the money that you generate to SARS. This is something that they just announced because, as seen on the screen, you notice that they talk about the other segments that they were previously collecting revenues from, or that they were getting their revenues from. But as seen on the screen, notice that the national and provincial government, it's a new segment. Then there's social media influencers, then there's gig economy. These three are new, but they say they've given out information as to how the social media influencers can go about learning how they disclose their their revenues, their income they are generating. Now, I know this, even to me as a content creator, it's not a good thing, right? I mean, they go as far as it might not be affiliate marketing, but as long as any type of revenue that you are getting from the content, from your post, advertising other brands, you need, SARS wants the piece of the pie. That is what they are saying. And my dear friends, it's something that, like I said, it's not that good, right? But at the end of the day, SARS is saying this is what needs to be done. I mean, if you look at the South African Revenue Service, the amount of tax they are collecting, they are they fall under the category of countries that is collecting a lot of tax from individuals and businesses. I mean, based on the tax to GDP ratio, which is the actual tax revenue that SARS collected versus the GDP that South Africa generated back in 2022, that tax to GDP ratio was at 26.01%. But for the 2024-2025 financial year, the tax to GDP ratio was at 24.8%. This is not the highest tax to GDP ratio that as compared to other countries. I mean, there are countries that fall under OECD, which, of course, their average tax to GDP ratio is around 34.1%. And some of these countries, they've got, or they are collecting tax as high as 46.1%. This is France. Nations or countries like France, Denmark, Belgium, their tax collection or their tax to GDP ratio, it's around 46.1%. So South Africa, though it is not the highest when you compare to of course, OECD countries. Non-OECD countries are countries that are not yet. I mean, the average on the countries that are non-OECD or countries that are not developed, the average of tax collected, in fact, in Africa, it's 16%. And if South Africa's average on tax collected revenue versus our GDP, it's at 24%. It means that tax is much more higher than the average African country. Our tax collection or the current tax rate that South Africans and businesses are being taxed, it's pretty high compared to other African countries, because you will see or you will notice there that the average back in 2022 was at 16%, right? I mean, in Asia Pacific, the average in 2023 was around 19.6%. Latin America and the Caribbean, the average in 2023 was around 21.3%. So not only is our tax rate higher than the other African countries, but when you talk about Asia, when you talk about Latin America, our tax rate or the amount of tax that is being applied to either individuals or tax or companies, it's pretty high, which is why you will see last week we were talking about, of course, countries like Monaco, where the tax is almost zero. People are not paying tax here. Go to Dubai, UAE, the tax there, it's pretty low. And knowing that our, of course, ratio of tax to GDP is 24%, it is something that is not good, right, compared to other African countries. But anyways, the reason why I'm telling you this was just to let you know that it appears that based off the new targets of where SARS is targeting social media influencers, it looks like this ratio might even go higher, because almost everyone these days is a social media content creator, is an influencer, uh, having affiliate marketing, which is something that, of course, it will be so big for SARS in terms of collecting revenues from these newly added segments, which include social media influencers. So, yeah, man, tell me what you think about this. When I read this, I thought it's important that other social media influencers or content creators know what SARS is about, or what SARS is saying now about social media influencers and content creators. There are other segments that were added, but I just thought today I talk about this one. I mean, a lot of people talk about SARS or complain about SARS. I mean, right now, personal income can be taxed up to, I think, 47%, which means that the highest earners of in this country, and I think this is from uh, over 1.6, 1.7 million. If you earn more than 1.6, 1.7 million, according to the SARS tax tables, you can be taxed uh, up to 47%, meaning that half of your salary or the salary that you get must go back to SARS, or must be collected by SARS, right? Which is something that, of course, it's not as good, right? I mean, no one. I mean, we are working very hard for this money, and it's like we are at the same time as we are working hard, we are also working for the government. We are also working for SARS, which I think as time goes, the government must just relook at these things. Remember this year during the budget speech, there was a proposal of saying that South Africa, or the finance minister, Godongwana, highlighted that they wanted to increase VAT by 1%, 0.5% this year, 0.5% next year. And South Africa went to a standstill and said it was uncalled for, right? We saw other political parties fighting this, including DA, including EFF. They went in and fought this, and we have won that battle. It looks like this year there won't be any tax increases, but I can tell you now, this, however, of finding other segments or other sources where SARS can generate income from, I think it's a measure that came after, or it's one of the measures that, of course, SARS will try to come with to make sure that they collect as much revenue as possible. Putting it into context, that 24, or that over 24% that SARS collected, like in the 2024-2025 financial year, that tax to GDP ratio, South Africa's GDP if South Africa's GDP in 2024-2025 came at over $400 billion, it means that over 100 billion, or around $100 billion, was collected by just SARS. SARS collected revenues equated to around $100 billion annually, which is something that it just shows you how much money the government is really getting from tax, right, or from using SARS, right? And yeah, it's not that good. It hurts, right? And there must be ways that, obviously, the government, even in the near future, they look at, of course, trying to reduce this tax, because honestly, people are not earning that much, or they are ending up not having that much of money taking home, right? And looking at the cost of living, looking at how the prices of things, uh, the products and services that we use on a day-to-day, the prices of those are continue increasing. And or due to inflation, and that also weighs in a lot. I mean, have a look at how much money an average household right now is spending on just a basic grocery. It's a lot. I think right now the grocery basket is around, or it's plus minus 4,000, right? Which shows you of how expensive it is to survive in this economy, right? But anyways, I just thought I'd quickly come and give you this update. Tell me what you think about this. It is important that you know this. I will be reading more about this, and I think it's to all the, especially influencers, content creators, they go, or we go, and just read about this. In as much as some people are not making that much of money, there are those that are making a lot, and SARS, I think their target is for those ones. But anyways, anyone who gets capital gains from content, from brand deals, SARS is saying also pay or give Caesar what belongs to Caesar, right? Which is something that is very interesting. Like, share, subscribe. I'll see you in the next one. That is all from me, and God bless you all.